Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll start the Sanhedrin daf Kuf Vav. We are going to begin on Kuf Vav Amud Aleph, about 10 lines from the top. The pasuk says, "V'yar es hakini v'yisa mishaloi." So the person who is called the kini saw and he lifted up from his own. Amelo Bilam Yisroi. So kini is actually referring to Yisro. Bilam said to Yisro, Kini, lo was I not with you at that Eitza when we were in Mitzrayim? Mi hoishivcha Eitzel isani oilam. Who are you that placed you by the strong ones of the world? Fine. Says Rashi, Shigozer Paro al kol haben yilud hayura. So Paro made the decree that any boy be thrown into the sea. Bitmia Vada Hisa. You certainly were there. You definitely were there. So there's three people that were by the Eitza to Paro. Elhin, Bilam, Eov, Yisro. So Bilam, who was a Rasha, Shiites, he gave the advice that the Gideon should be killed. So Nerag, his downfall is he ended up getting killed. Eov, Job, Shashasak, he was silent, Nidon B'Yisurin. He ended up receiving pain. So the question is why? So first of all, because Shtika Kaida, it's not like he's innocent, he should have spoken up. If you see someone say something, right? Say something wrong, say something. But when you're silent, you're keeping things inside. So it's the same thing as punishment as Yisurin, that it's something that only you can feel, but no one else. V'Yisro Shebarach. Yisro ran away. So he was zeicha that his offspring would end up sitting in the Lishkas HaGazos. This is question TA 26. B'schus ma zoch Yisro b'nei bonav yeshu Lishkas HaGazos erahu ba'oisa ha'etza b'mei paro ma loisa yislo Yehudim b'Mitzrayim b'hu boirach misham. Okay. Shenamar, we see this because the Mishpachai Seifrim Yosh V'Yavitz, with regarding to the families of the scribes who are the Yosh V'Yavitz, and then the pasuk says Turatim Shematim Sukkosayim Hema Hakinim. So it mentions the word Kinim again, which is referring to Yisro Haboyim Machmas Avi, who came due to my father. Beis Rechev V'Ksiv they Keni Chaysin Moshe. And it says that Kini was the Chaysin Moshe. He was the father-in-law. Olu Meir Hatamarim, he ascended from this city of dates. V'yisim Mishol V'yoymar, and he said his own statement. He said, Oy mi yichya mishmoi kael. Woe are those who live in the name God. So, says Rashi, Mi hoishivcha etzel yisoni oilam she'asin b'nechal yishiv l'shchas ha'gazos v'hainu nechsiv oisa moshavcha, your dwelling v'chi bein yisoni oilam ata yishiv mi haskiko kach. What basically caused this? That your children are sitting in l'shchas ha'gazos. Oisa atzmo, so shemichya atzmo b'shem, fine. What was someone who has basically made themselves act like a god? So Rashi says, "Also atzmo Eloha." You make yourself as a god, kamo Paro v'chiram, just like Paro and Chiram did. Okay, all right. Omer Rav Yochanan, Oilol Uma, woe is to the nation Shetimsa, b'shasha Kadosh Baruch Hu asa pidyon levanov, at the time in which Hashem redeems His kids. Mi mato kasusai. Bein Lavia, who places the guard between the lions, Bishash and Niskokin Zaims at the time of them having tashmish with one another. It says Rashi, anyone who holds back the Yidden from being redeemed, woe upon them. It says Rashi, Akvan Shul Yistakin says anyone who holds back lions from cohabiting, the Masukin who, you're going to get yourself into some danger. Who is able to withhold the Yidden, the Kadosh Baruch Hu Maknisam? When Hashem wants them to enter Eretz Yisrael, until we Mitzrayim, no one should be there to stop. And then the pasuk says, "V'tzim miyad kitim, Omer Rab liboin atzbir." This is referring to a particular location. V'inu asher v'inu aver. Inu is a lashon of affliction. Says Rashi, "Dechtiv hainu makom shishmoikach." So what does that mean? So ad asher katli mikdol mikan ve'elach mishabdi shibude. Says Rashi, umi asher ve'elach mishabdi hu shibude. From asher and on, then they will be in shibud. Hineni hoylech la'ami. I went to my nation. Lokayat sochal asher yaso amazeh. So amcha amhazeh meboile. What do you mean amcha to your nation? Amcha. I should say amcha. So Rabbi bar kahana ka'adam shemekalas atzmai. It's like a person who curses themselves. The toy kalaso b'cherim, and he hangs the curse on others. And as he tried to make the Bnei Yisrael look bad. Says Rashi. So he saw Balak. So he gave advice to Balak, shenichshul ba Yisrael, that the Jews should look bad. Hein heina hayu b'nei Yisrael b'davar Bilam. So that's what he tried to do. V'kach Bilam lo ratza litlois shiflus zeb Balak. So on this, Bilam did not wish to hang this lowliness on Zeb Balak. Shehehut tzarich levakish eitza hech yichshul ba Yisrael. How exactly are the Jewish people going to stumble? Says Rashi, El b'Yisrael tola b'shiflos loy mashen srichim le'etza shichzu ba b'nei Moab. Okay. Weiter. Amulehen Elohehen shel elu senizimuhu. And their God hates licentiousness. God hates immorality. And they enjoy these fine garments. Here is advice. Also, hen kiloyim, they should make these tents out of curtains. Znus and you should have one woman who's older on the outside, who's not so attractive, the Yoldim Mifnim, and have the more beautiful young women inside. V'yimchol hen kli pishtan, have them slay the kli pishtan. Also hen kilayim, to make these curtains. Mar shalig ad beis hayshimois. Hayshimehen zonos. Again, they put these harlots, zekanim mchutz v'yoldim mifnim, as he was advised. When the Yidden were eating, drinking, and rejoicing, they were going for a walk. And she asked, don't you want some of these garments? So they would say, this is its worth. The younger ones would say it's a better deal. 2 or 3 times. You know what? You're like someone in our house. So so why don't you sit down for yourself? With sartsuri shel yain amoini munach etzel, and they put flasks of amona wine by them. V'yadayin lo neser yain shel amoini v'loy shel yain shel nachrim. There was no isser of nisach hayayin, yain nesach. So amar lo ritzayincha shetishta shel yain, want some wine? Hivan sheshaso, when they're drinking ba'arbo, it inflamed them. Says Rashi, shahayis mishtaker, that they were getting drunk. Uvoyer boy yitzahara, the yitzahara became inflamed in them. They had this strong passion. Omelah hashimili, so they said, have tashrish with me. So haitzia yeroscha mitaychika. So what they did was they took an idol out of their pocket. So Omelah avad lazeh, so go and worship this idol, and then I'll have relations with you. Omelah, so the Jew said, Halo Yehudi ani, I'm Jew, I can't do that. Omelah ma yifchaslach, what's the big deal? Kol mavakshim yimcha el pa'or, pure, all it's going to ask you to do is to defecate in front of it. They didn't realize that was actually the avodah. I will not leave you alone until tichbar b'taris Moshe Rabcha, until you basically deny all of the ganze Torah. Shenemer heima bo bal peor the nozru leveshes, and they separated the yu shikutzim be'ahavam, and they were considered to be disgraceful and repulsive by their actions. V'yeshisho bashitim. So what does that mean, bashitim? So Rabbi Elazar Omer Shitim Shema was the name of the place. Rabbi Yeshua Omer just asku b'divrei shtus. It actually means shitim because of the word shtus. They were engaged in foolishness there. And they brought their sacrifices. Rabbi Elazar Omer arumois pog behen, that they were actually unclothed at the time. Rabbi Yeshua Omer shenasu kulan bali krayin. They were all like a balkari. They all had these emissions. So my lashon refidim. What does it mean refidim? Rabbi Elazar Omer refidim. Show us the name. Rabbi Yeshua Omer sheripo atzma de Torah. It means that they weaken themselves around Torah. Shenemar lo hefnu avos albanim merfiyoin yadayim, the weakening of hands. Anytime it says that they sat down, in lashon sar, it's a language of anguish. Shenemar yoshisol bashitim v'yichalu liznois el b'nois Moav. So we see again the downfall of the Klal Yisrael in the times of Bilam by engaging in znus with the b'nois Moav. And there it says v'yeshav Yisrael, that they sat, they dwelt. V'yeshav Yaakov be'eretz meguri aviv be'eretz Canaan v'yavi Yosef es dibasam rel avihem. So Yaakov was sitting quietly, relaxing, hoping he was bikei shalom v'shalva in his older age. And then all of a sudden Yosef starts speaking. Eventually we had Mechiras Yosef. Remember, v'yoshav Yisrael be'eretz Goshen v'yikru yemei Yisrael lomos. And Yaakov was going to die. V'yeshav Yehuda v'Yisrael levetach. So we see that Yehuda was sitting tachas gefanav v'tachas ta'anasai, underneath the grapevines, underneath the figs. V'yakam Hashem satan l'shoimai es hadad ha'adaimi mizer hamelach hu be'edaim. V'es malchi midyan hargu al chalehem v'gaimer. And the malchi midyan killed him. Who they kill? As Bilam ben Beor hargu b'charav. They killed him with a sword. So it's interesting, the word vayeshev, sitting down, is a language of tsar, because sitting down and doing nothing, that is not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be productive, we're supposed to be moving forward, we're supposed to be goal-oriented. And therefore, sitting is tsar. That is the ultimate level of pain. So, Bilam, my boy Hassam, what was he doing over there that he ended up getting killed? So Rabbi Yochanan shaholach litos schar esnevi arba olef shehipol miYisrael, because he was actually going to get his payment for the 24,000 kesef for cursing the Jews. Why people say gamel ozel mi boy karni, that a camel will go and he wants horns, uni dehavile gezizin, and his ears are cut off. So basically what that means is that he put himself into this position by going after the money which he shouldn't have. That's Bilam ben Beor ha-Kaisem. Kaisem navihu. A Kaisem is a sorcerer. But Bilam wasn't a sorcerer, he was a navi. Navi. Originally he was a navi. It was Saif Kaisem. He ended up just becoming someone involved in sorcery. Now, my papa behind every inch, that's what people say, miskane vishilti, that the wife of a prince, havi izun legavri nagri. She will end up being mazana with the nagri, with the carpenter. So again, what that basically means is that you can start off in a more prominent thing, but you can always fall off afterwards. That's the symbolism of that. Okay, let's continue on to Kuf Vav Amud Beis. Hargu b'nei Yisrael b'charev. So he was killed by the sword. Rashi says misos harbe mashma, many deaths. So and it says el chalehem amarav shekimu bo arba misos skil v'sreifa hereg v'chenek. That actually when Bilam died, so Taka, he died, but he died with all 4 misos. How's that possible? You only get killed once. So Rashi says, it's sisu eish tachas hatzliva. So he had this fire underneath him being hung. V'chadchu roisho, his head got cut off. And nafal l'taycha eish, it fell into the fire. Talia hainu chenek chatichas harosh harag kishenafal aretz. So like his head was cut off, which is hereg, and then he fell onto the ground. Skila kishenafal or hainu sreifa. When he got burnt into the fire, that's sreifa. Okay. So he got all our mamisos done to him. Mina, Rav Chanina. So this min said to Rav Chanina, Mishamielach Bilam ben Bar Kama Havi. Does anyone know how old Bilam was when he died? How old was he? So Malay Nichta Luksiv. It's not written anywhere. Elam Nichsiv Anshi Dalma Mimir Moyachsu Mehem. That those people who are deceitful and liars and etc., that they're not even going to live half of their life. So bar tlasin v'tlashnin or bar tlasin v'arba. He was either 33 or 34 years old. So because we know that we say that years of a person is 70 years. So therefore, if it's not even half, so it's got to be less than 35. So we'll say 33 or 34. Alternatively, or life doesn't necessarily mean actual physical years. He doesn't live a life of quality. He's not living up to even half of his potential. So like a Beinoni is chatzi, so a Rasha is less than half. So that could be another interpretation. So this is question 4. Al elu shloisha rishayim amigmar demesu b'kitzur yamim v'shanim v'lo chitzur yameim. So of course one of them is Bilam. Amarle Shaprikam, we're saying good. L'dirichazili Pankasia de Bilam. I saw it was written in the Pinkus, in like the book about Bilam. Vaviksibin, it's written, quote, Bartlasin v'tlash shnin Bilam Chagira. Referring to the Bilam, the lame one, he was 33. Kad Katol Yasi Pinchas Listaya. And he was killed by Pinchas, this bandit. So he said to his son, Bekulhu, in all these people in the Mishnah, Lo Tapish Lo Medrash, Lo Bar Mebilam Arasha Nekama the Mishkachas Bey Dorish Bey. Typically, we don't want to darshan and talk about someone who's dying. We don't want to spend too much time talking about a Rasha. However, when it comes to Bilam, that's allowed. Says Rashi, why is it called Pinchas Lista? So Sar Tzava, he was like the officer of the army. He was called by that name. So it says Rashi, Kol ma demishkachas le'genai darsh. You can darshan anything that you want for genai regarding this person. So ksiv doyeg. So now we're going to talk about doyeg hadoimi, who killed Noiv Ir Kohanim. So v'ksiv davig. So why is he written in 2 different ways? So Hashem was really initially worried about this person. Maybe he'll become a Rasha. After Hitaka did, woe that he actually did. Simin Gibra of a Rasha of Tzadik Chil of Sofer. Rabbi Yitzchak, what does the pasuk mean when it says Ma tishalil meraha gibor? Why is there pride in this evil strong one? Chesed kel kol hayoim, kindness to God all days. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'dayeg. What it means is like this: that Hashem said to Dayeg, "Lo gibor b'Torah," to understand that you're a strong person, you have a lot of Torah knowledge. Ma tishalil bara. Why is it that you are praising in bad? In other words, you're speaking lashon hara regarding David HaMelech. Lo chesed. It's not a form of kindness. Al nitoy alecha kol hayoim. He will have strong hold over you over all these days. Rabbi Yitzchak Ma'idechsev Rasha Aimer Elokim. This is referring to Dayeg. Malacha l'saper chuki. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dayeg Rasha Malacha l'saper chuki. What is this? You speak about all the laws. Kishyati Megillah Parshas Meratzchim a Parshas Mesaper Lashon Hara Mata Darish Mehen. you expound on all the different sections of the Torah, but when you get to the parts like about murder and lashon hara, how could you learn them? Because you obviously do them all. Again, because you killed the people of Noiv. Vatisa, and also he spread rumors about David to Shaul, which incited Shaul. Vatisa brisi olai picha, and I'll lift up my covenant. So Amrav Ami Ein Taraso Shel Doeg El Masafa Ulachutz, that Doeg's Torah is only from like his mouth and outward. In other words, he didn't allow the Torah to actually penetrate into his heart. So what exactly does this mean? That the tzaddik, regarding the tzaddikim, they saw and they were afraid. And then afterwards they rejoiced. So which is it? They rejoiced, they are afraid. So b'tchila yiru. Originally they were afraid. And then afterwards they rejoiced. So what is this referring to? It says Rashi, b'tchila yiru. So what this means is that hatzadikim ha'yireim, they were afraid, shel yilmod adam ma'masav shel doeg, that no one should learn from doeg's actions, shehayich v'chayta u'matzliach, that they're going to go and sin and think to be successful. L'soif kishemes b'chatzi yamav, when Itaka died at 33, Shav Gemula Baroisha Yisachu. So basically, the Tzaddikim's fear was that people are going to learn from this Russia, but then afterwards they had less to be afraid of because he ended up dying before his time. So question TC28, which I got terribly wrong. But Yir Tzaddikim V'Yiro B'Tchila Yiro Saiv Yisachu. Why were they originally afraid, and then afterwards they were happy? So what exactly changed? I got that completely wrong. So as we see, TC28 basically is that they originally the tzaddikim saw that people are going to learn from Doeg, right? So they were afraid, right? That they were afraid regarding Doeg. But afterwards, after he died, before half of his lifetime, namely at 33, so they rejoiced. So my answer was just totally way off. But that's what happens sometimes. Okay, but that's the answer we were looking for. That the wealthy will be swallowed up and spit out. That my stomach will pull out toward God. You almost doeg, let doeg get killed. Bola means basically let him swallow up some success, if you will. So Amulafanov Mivtachno Virishanu, drive out his Torah knowledge. So even though he has a lot of knowledge, Kale, let Hashem drive out that knowledge. So the Marshal explains that when you swallow something, it's without chewing the food, and therefore it doesn't have the same effect. So too, the Torah is the same way. Gam Kale Yisacha Lenetzach. So too with God, He will drive away forever. Kadosh Baruch Hu David, Nesi Noig Alma de Asi. So let him go to the world to come, Hashem said. So Amr Lafanu, so David said, Gam Al Yisach Lenetzach, that he should not have a permanent fix. In other words, he should not be zeich to go to Olam Haba. So Ma'anechsev Yechad Chavi Asiach oil that will be cut off and removed from the tent. The Shar Shecha and your roots, Me'eretz Chayim Sela. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Le'emish Ma'isum in Russia. I'll say this medrash in the base medrash, Mishmei, in the name of Doeg. Amar Lafanav Yichad Chavi Asiach oil, that a person should be removed and cut from the oil, namely he shouldn't be in the base medrash, or his words. So let there be a binyan rabbanon, a building for the rabbanon. So v'shar shecha me'eretz chaim selwa, and let your roots be eretz chaim. So Rabbi Yitzchak ma'dichsiv Ayi Seifer, Ayi Shaikel, where's the counter, the weigher, Ayi Seifer, the scribe, as Hamigdalim, regarding the towers. So Ayi Seifer, this is referring to Daig. Koi, that he was, Ayi Seifer is Kol Oisia Shibatayra. He knew all the letters, he knew the entire Torah. Ayi Shaikel, where's the weigher? Shaikel Kol Kalim V'chamurim Shibatayra. That he knew all the Kal V'chaimers in the Torah, which of course, this daf is daf Kal V'chomer, daf Kufav. So we have over here that one of the great things of Doeg is he knew all the Kal V'chomers in the Torah. Ayi Seifer as Hamigdalim, Shahayi Seifer Shalosh Meos Halachos Psukim Psukos. He was able to say over 300 clean halachos b'migdal hapoireach ba'avir. The tower that's flying up into the sky. Now, what on earth is that? What is that referring to? What is Hilchos Psukos b'migdal haporeach ba'avir that Daig knew? So Rashi over here says, and I believe this is also a question. Let's see. Question TA 25. This is on Kufavim and Beis. TA 25. So what does this mean? So either it's mitagel yoina shalomala min halamid, that he was able to even understand the tagim, like the crowns on the letters. Nema kafufa lamato, it bends down. A second interpretation is b'migdal haparech ba'avir hanichnas eretz amim, when it comes to someone who enters into Eretz Yisrael, b'shin migdal imhu tamei olav. So he knew all the intricate details of Tumah, Tahira, especially someone who can go into a box, whether or not he's Tameh. Another pshat is Gimel Meos Halachos, 300 Halachos, B'migdal Parech Ba'avir, Lasos Kishuf, to do witchcraft, Lahamid Migdal Ba'avir, to be able to actually have this hovering in the air. Can go in Shosh Meos Halachos, Mentias, the Shuan, with regard to cucumbers, as we saw previously on Daf Samaches. It says Rashi, the Mishtoime, Bahachi Migdal Ha'oimid Ba'avir V'toma Mataycha Kalim Shabataycha Tameim V'chein Diroli. Okay, so this is what question 25 is. U'makavana Migdal Ha'porech Ba'avir. That Doeg knew. So either they understood the crowns above the Lamed Kfufa, which is bent. Again, the laws of entering Eretz Ha'amim B'shir Tiba Migdal, or Lahamid Migdal Ba'avir, having a migdal actually floating in the air, they kishuf through witchcraft. There's the fourth answer here. It says migdal ha'emid ba'avir v'tuma b'toicho. So referring to a migdal that's standing in the air and there's tuma inside. Kem shaboisam aviv tameim. Okay, so those are the multiple answers to what that is referring to. Okay, Ayi Seifer as a migdal shayi Seifer sholosh meya hilchos psuchos b'migdal haporech ba'avir. Amarav arba meya boy bahu doig v'achitoifel b'migdal haporech ba'avir. There's 400 questions that were asked by the migdal porech ba'avir. V'ifshat b'uchad, they couldn't answer any of them. Amarava ravu salam and boy. Is it good to have questions? So b'shnei the Rabbi Yehuda. Kule, I can't read this word. Kule tavoy b'nezikin. They were all like experts in the laws of nezikin. Danika masnis tuva b'uksin. I learned a lot in uksin. When it came to the law of a woman who is soaking vegetables in a pot, the Amri law, some say it was zaysim shekavshan b'tarpihen, olives that are kovish, that are being pickled with leaves, are tahirim. So Amar Havayas to Rabbi Shmulka Chazina Hacha. There's tremendous questions over here. Exactly what was that referring to? It's very complicated. So Rashi says when it says that it's in a vegetable, it's b'chaimitz, that it's either in something of vinegar or sear or brine. Tahirin, de'en mekabel tuma alidi oiksin, she'im naga tuma b'shrashav ha'olin tahirin. If you touched, if something tummy touched its roots, it's tar. She'en nasin yad l'elyoin ma'ach shekav sham she'em anichin l'sham el lamara. It's only for looking upon. Okay, anyway, so there's very intricate. However, anan kamas tisa ba'uksan tlas trei besifta, tlas sari besifta. We learned in 13 different yeshivas. Yehuda shal masani, when he would take off his shoe, Yasa matara, rain came. The anan samchina v'leikan v'shachaslan. Doesn't make any sense. Like we have greater understanding of the Torah. It's learned throughout, and yet no, Hashem doesn't listen to our tefillos. Because Baruch Hu, liba boy, Hashem wants our heart. So the issue is that when Torah is only on the outside, Torah needs to be internalized, or it's worthless, like doeg. The heart is what matters, not the lip service. So that's the answer to that. That in Hakadosh Baruch Hu, liba boy, Hashem yira vav, that Hashem loves what's in your heart. Amarav misharshit doeg v'achitoifel. With regard to doeg and achitoifel, loy havi savi shmaisa. They didn't understand it. Sugya maskava rezucha mandich sebe. The person who says I sefer I shaika I sefer as migdalim, that he knew everything doeg did. Yad Amrin lo havi savi shmaisa. They didn't understand a little piece of Gemara. The loy havi salkula shmaisa libda hilchasa. They were unable to actually learn it to the ultimate level of learning l'halacha. D'chsiv soida shemli, only to those who fear Hashem will His secrets be revealed. Amar Rav Amim lo meis doeg ad sheshachach talmudai. Doeg didn't die until his Torah was forgotten. Shnemar hu yomus be'ein musar u'b'roiv ivaltoi yishke. And based on his acts of foolishness, so he was killed. Rav Ashi Yomer Nitztara, he actually received Sirash. Shnemar, as the verse says, Hitzmasa kol zayna mimecha. I'll cut off all those who stray from you. Ksiv Hasim, it says elsewhere, by Yovel, it says, Litzmitzus, Matargaminan, L'chalutin, forever. V'tnan, ein bein musker mechot, there's no difference between a musker mitzayra, or someone who's mocha, which is confirmed, ella priya prima, regarding the hair and ripping of the garments. Simon shloisha rav v'chatzi v'karim Rav Yochanan shloisha malchei chaval and his dam lo doeg. There's three angels that encountered doeg. Echad sheshachat tamudom caused him to forget his learning. Echad shesaraf nishmaso, when his nisham was burnt. Echad shepizer afra but the knesset but the reshios, and that his ashes were spread around. Rav Yochanan doeg v'achatav lo rozed zeh. David and Achitav didn't see each other. Doeg b'mei Shaul. Doeg was in the days of Shaul, and of course Shaul went against David Melch. Achitophel b'mei David. Achitophel, who also was problematic, but he came during the days of David later on. Rabbi Yochanan Doeg v'Achitophel chatzi meim. So similar to Bilam, also Doeg and Achitophel did not live half of their life. Tanya Nabi Hachi Achi David Mirmaliasu Mehem Kol Shanasav Shel Doeg Lo Haya El Shloishim V'Arba is 34. Achitophel lived for 33 years. Rabbi Yochanan ben Achila Kar David Achitophel Rabbi Umasayif. So originally, David called him his teacher. Umasayif Kar Chaver. They called him his equal. Umasayif Kar told me that he called him his student. He was lower than him. So B'Achila Kar Rabbi Viato Anish Arche Alufe Umadoi. So we see that he's called the Arche, like the master. Umasayif Kar Chavero Asher Yachtav Nimtik Soid Bebeis Elokim. That it says the word Yachtav, that they go together to the house of God. The Halach Beregesh, that they go with trepidation. Okay. Umasayif Kar Talmido, eventually he was just like a student to him. Gam Ish Shlomi Asher Bechatasi Boy. So again, that is the stages, how David originally had high regard for Achitophel, but then it kind of dropped over and over. Gam ish shloimi asher b'tachte boi, also the ish shloimi who trusted in him, says Kuv Zayin and Aleph, oichel lachmi higdil ale akev, that they consumed bread and they grew up and became crooked. Says Rashi, loimid tarasi, fine, from learning my Torah. Okay, so let's maybe see another question or two. TA 26. No, we didn't do that. TB 26. Elu shloisher shayim arba gemara demesu b'kitzer yomim. So this is on Kuf Vav Amud Beis, which is TB 26. TB 26, which is exactly the same question as question number 4. So the answer, of course, is Bilam, and then we also have Doeg and Achitophel. Okay, that's question. That's TB. Let's see if we have TC. Okay, we didn't do that one yet. And let's see, question 4. Al elu shloisher Hashem Abba Gemara Demesu B'chitzer Yomim Adkan.